Today, we are taking back more of our jurisdictional control and telling Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and his cabinet that they cannot make deals without our express approval. And this afternoon, I'm pleased to table the Provincial Priorities Act to do just that. Albertans are uninterested in the virtue signaling from Ottawa and the related strings that come with this. We are interested in our fair share of federal funding to move forward with our priorities. Albertans don't want federal funding to show the world how virtuous we are or to polish Canada's halo internationally. We want our provincial share of per capita federal funding for roads, for infrastructure, and for housing. Projects that will make a real difference for Albertans. The way we see it, federal and provincial funding should be spent collaboratively, not at cross purposes. And it should be spent on Alberta's priorities and not on Ottawa's, because after all, a lot of that money came from hardworking Alberta taxpayers in the first place.
It's clear that Alberta is not being treated equally, and this is exactly why we need a provincial voice present, to make sure we get the best deal and a fair deal for our province, our municipalities, and those Albertans that need housing. We reject the idea that the provinces should not be involved in these decisions because we are best positioned to understand the local needs and concerns of communities all across our province. Listen, our job is to facilitate getting money to the municipalities, but not at cross purposes with our government's priorities and our government's policies, and definitely not at cross purposes with the Constitution, which makes municipalities exclusive provincial jurisdiction. We're not ceding any ground to the federal government. They've tried to take it, but we're not ceding it, and we will not cede it.
Jean-Francois Roberge was the person who shared this legislation with me when I was at the Council of the Federation, and I can tell you their experience was that it actually reduced red tape. Because when it came down to having a negotiation about a funding transfer for Quebec, they had a single government to deal with, the provincial government, and a single amount of money, $900 million that they transferred. Looked pretty darn efficient in British Columbia when the federal government breezed through town and dropped $2 billion in negotiation, again, with a single government, Premier Eby. And in our province, what we've seen is a special deal for the large municipalities, and good for them for actually having the ability to negotiate that. $175 million for Edmonton, $238 million for Calgary, but there are only 6 small municipalities that in combined got $13.6 million. And I have to tell you, I just simply don't think there's bandwidth at the federal level to do negotiations with all 350 of our municipalities, which means people get left out. And it's outrageous that we're short at least $1 billion and probably more like $2 billion on housing, because not only are we getting shortchanged on the Housing Accelerator Fund, but there is also a Rapid Housing Fund that we have only been given 2% of the total amount, even though our population is 12% of the total amount of population. On top of that, if you talk to Devin Dreeshen, he'll tell you that we have put in requests for 9 highways to have joint funding. We're 0 for 9. We've received none of that. So I would say that what will happen is that this should streamline things, because they'll know that if they want to partner with us, we're happy to be here as a partner, and we'll be able to negotiate with them.
Just to follow up then.